Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for The Bear Season 1, Episode 4. Dogs. This is where we, of course, talk about the most important subject of this entire episode. Does ketchup belong on a hot dog? I have a lot of passionate thoughts about this.
All right, so we're gonna have a little bit of a hot dog debate.
Yeah, there's no debate. It's like, this is a simple answer.
I know what your answer is. Your answer is chili, no beans, and cheese.
Yes.
I'm aware of what your answer is, and that is a good option too. But sometimes you're just in the mood for some good old ketchup and mustard. Oh, stop!
Mustard is acceptable. Mustard is an acceptable condiment for a hot dog. It's okay. When I was a kid, I put ketchup on my hot dog too.
And that's the point. Is listen, they're catering a child's party, and you're not going to bring ketchup. Get out.
Okay, see, you may be correct, but mustard is superior. It will always be superior.
Yes, but we are talking about a children's hot dog party. Like no, they're not going to be having a more refined palate as yours with your chili and slices of cheese.
Okay, this is the funniest thing about this is I can come on here and try to be like this hot dog elitist, but like people in Chicago would kick me where the sun don't shine and walk away because I'm not eating the hot dogs the way that they like them, because I know what you people in Chicago like on your hot dogs with all this different stuff and the big old pickle or whatever else you're putting on there.
Listen, I've never had a Chicago hot dog, but I've had pickle on my hot dog. It's so good.
Yeah, like Chicago.
I mean, it's not that far off from relish anyways. Relish is really just chopped up pickle.
See, this is actually what we're gonna do for the next 20 minutes. We're just gonna talk about hot dog topics. No, we are gonna talk about dogs because I really like this episode a lot, and to me, it's weird, but to me, this is an episode about vibes. Like, we'll get a little bit more into that, but before we do, just join our Patreon. Like, we're discussing all sorts of great stuff, including The Bear, every Tuesday night over there. We've got a link in the description below. Thank you to everyone who has joined. I mean, it's in part because of our Patreon that we're here going through The Bear in the first place.
Yeah, thank you so much to everybody who suggested that we watch this show. And also thank you to my dad, who's been trying to get me to watch this show forever. Like, it's so good. I can't believe I actually sat on this for as long as I did.
What I think makes this episode so special to me is just in between the setting, like just the style, the music choices, even the little things like making like homemade ecto cooler, which I had ecto cooler a lot when I was like a kid, and I've got these like fond memories of like Ghostbusters and all these other things that are really nostalgic to me. This episode just hit sort of a part of my bones this is what childhood is like, and I didn't even grow up in a big city, but the writers have just such an interesting understanding of that, even through the lens of the story being told by adults.
Absolutely. I mean, okay, let's set the table of sort of how this all went together. So we had Jimmy / Cicero. He's both names here. So Jimmy is where I'm going to go with them. Oliver Platt is having a party at his house. His children are having this birthday party, and sort of as part of, knocking down some of your debt. 2,000 of the debt can be knocked down if you cater to the party. They have Richie and Carmy going there with hot dogs and, the ecto cooler and all this other cool stuff to make sure everybody is fed.
It's kind of simple in a way where, there are these challenges on like MasterChef where it's like, you have to come and cook for like these 100 firemen or whatever other random person is, but it's never that personal. And I think what makes this episode so interesting is that Carmy, for the first 3, has been sort of still confined to the kitchen. He's had that sort of, I don't want to say it's a safe place for him, but it's a comfortable place because Carmy never really seems to be that happy. But here, he's really forced to confront sort of his family, his life in a way that he hasn't been, and it throws him out of his element, but it also gives us like more of a personal window into who he is and why he is the way that he is. Like, he's somebody who has never really had that much of a relationship with his father, to the point where conversations about him feel like he's almost talking about an alien, and it's a weird place for someone to have to be.
Yeah, and we know that he didn't go to Michael's funeral.
Yeah.
He hasn't really spoken to his mom much about her, his sister, or anybody. Like, we saw him go to a couple of meetings, but he really hasn't spoken to anybody deeply about it or even really faced it. This was him kind of going to a wake in a lot of ways, where there was a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I'm really sorry for your loss. Oh, I'm really sorry for your loss. Oh man, what happened to Michael? Oh man, I'm
Yeah.
really sorry about that." This is really the first time that he's had to actually accept people talking to him about what happened, and a little bit of getting a bit of sort of the sympathy that comes with that.
And he may not recognize it, and I don't think he does yet. I don't think that Carmy is in the space that he will probably be at the end of the season. We haven't watched ahead, but I do think that in retrospect, he will look back at a lot of this and be like, okay, you know what? It was good for all these people to get this off their chest with me. It's
Mhm.
important for me to hear it. It's important for me to sort of heal from it and also sort of understand the relationship between Cicero slash Jimmy and my dad, and
Mhm.
kind of also come to further terms with all of that, because there's a lot of hurt within him, and I think he's kind of constantly seeking distractions for that hurt. But I think just being there probably took him back to a little bit of a different point in his life, and there's a simplicity to it.
Mhm.
He can't be screaming at Richie at this play in the same way that he screams at Richie in the kitchen and Richie sort of screams back at him. And like, here's my sort of tinfoil hat through all of this, is that, is this experience going to be the sort of thing that makes Richie reconsider some of his own decisions? Like, is he going to go and pull that letter back out that he just sort of stored back away earlier on this season?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I'm hoping, at least from this whole situation, is maybe Carmi is going to be able to open up a little bit more now that we've kind of learned, he hasn't really spoken much to his mom. He doesn't really have any relationship with his dad. It seems that Jimmy doesn't really have much of a relationship with his dad either. He's kind of like, yeah, we had this falling out. We haven't really spoken, and it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many complicated relationships and fallouts in this family that this has shown me why Kermie kind of is the way he is even more, where it's like you've got Jimmy, who, yeah, there was a really bad fallout and we just haven't really spoken since, and he doesn't really speak to his dad either. And then it makes sense then that he's dealing with his hurt, and his mom hasn't necessarily done anything. We don't really know much about it, but he's not opening up to her. He's not really calling her. He's not really
Yeah.
opening up to Sugar. Like, this seems to just be the environment that he's in.
Yeah, and it's all complicated, like, even more by, the fact that, Sugar's married, and it is clearly between Carmy and, like, her husband, there's clearly a lot of history that we've sort of seen a little bit of, and that's probably
Very
something
little, yeah.
that's gonna be developed even more over time. And I think there's a lot of layers here. The person who I'm most fascinated by at this point, of obviously other than Carmy and Richie, like our leads, is Jimmy. I mean, you mentioned how great Oliver Platt is, and
He is.
the
That
sad
fight with Richie at the beginning, I mean, they play off each other so well. Nobody fights like Richie.
I know, and I'm already bummed out about the idea that because Oliver Platt is a series regular over in Chicago Med, like, I don't know how much we're, conceivably going to get of him over these couple of seasons. But to me, he's got this really interesting balance where you can tell he cares a lot about Carmy and Richie, but at the same time, he also recognizes that he is owed, a huge, huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of putting on this further pressure of, like, do you just sell the place to him? Like, is he just going to be the owner? And I think that's constantly in Jimmy's head as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, they had a little bit more of a conversation of that, where Carmi really put his foot down again to just be like, I'm not selling. And I think Jimmy understands. He kind of was like, yeah, I get it, but at the same time, like, we owe all this money,
Yeah.
so this would work out, but I get why you won't sell.
This episode, I wish it was longer in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
because we spend a lot of time with Carmy and Jimmy and Richie, and understandably so. Like, that's all really important for sort of getting the sense of what it's like to be in this family.
Yeah, especially we got another window further into Richie that, he's taking medication to help deal with a lot of his anxiety.
Yeah.
How long has he been dealing with that? This is how he's been able to sort of kind of deal with that. What I think we're going to learn more about that.
It's so I really hope so, and it's just
I hope so too. I hope it wasn't just a setup so that we saw the kids all laid out all over the place
no,
from, drinking
we
the Kool-Aid there.
we have to have a little bit of something more from exploring all of this, and it's just
Yeah.
what I think is so interesting too is that Chicago is one of the biggest cities in all of North America, and yet what's such an interesting thing about it is that because there's such like a cultural history here, and because
Mhm.
it's so distinct. It's like very different from like LA where so many people just move to California. They don't have like these generational history
Mhm.
here, but there really is in Chicago, and there's such a sense of community that in seeing it with the party and the fallout of the party and yeah, the kids, it's like you really get this sense of it's both a big city and a small town almost at the same time, where everybody seems to know everybody in these particular neighborhoods, and it's just like that's a really interesting dynamic, and
Yeah.
it shows further the amount of pressure that Carmi now has put on him with this place that has such a sense of community all around it.
I know the bear likes to say that it's a comedy, and for the first few episodes, I was like, "Get out!
Yeah.
There's no way." But this episode definitely made me laugh. Watching Carmy and Richie fight over that hot dog, and
Yes.
then see the big blow up hot dog with like a shirt taped to it. It was so funny.
That is really, really funny to me too, especially because like there was a hot dog place I used to go to when I lived in Dallas. They had a giant hot dog outside of it all the time. And like I think they even had a sign in front of it that was like, do not touch this, because I'm pretty sure they had people that would put shirts on it, like draw mustaches on it, smiling face. This should just be
That was you. Just admit it.
I admit nothing. You will never take me down
All
alive.
right.
No, but while all this is going on, I do wish it was longer so we had more at the restaurant and more of what's going on over at, Original Beef, because I feel for Sydney a lot in this situation because, this is supposed to be Carmi's place at this point, and yet he's off doing these other things in these like episode 3 and episode 4, and she is just really left to all these other people are supposed to listen to her when they have been there for years upon years. It's a really hard spot that she's in.
Yeah, she's in a really tough spot, but so is Tina. Like, I understand why Tina is pushing back the way she is. There's a lot more going on with her. Like, she was basically like, I've been here since before you were born.
Yeah,
Like, I've been doing this for so long. Like, you want me to give you respect, but where's the respect for me? And you see her like trying to work the potatoes. She burns her sauce. And,
yeah.
we saw Sydney step in to try to help a little bit. And then she's seasoning it. That whole line where Tina just brings up the potatoes is like, here, just tell me that they're trash so I can move on. It tells me that that's what Tina's really looking for, is some sort of validation to be like, yeah, you've been here a long time. And yes, you do know what you're doing as a chef. And Sydney is able to give that to her, where Tina finally does have that little bit of validation where she's like, okay, I'm doing a good job at this. And I haven't been wasting all these decades of my life here.
I think hearing things like this for Sydney, she's experienced, but she's also still young. Like I think it's important
Yes.
for her to just try to put herself in the shoes of other people, understand, like, she's been at least at this place long enough now to really get a further sense of you have to take pride in your work in
Mhm.
order to get to this place, especially with, the establishment struggling as much as it's been as of late. Like people like Tina have to have something to cling to. And like the potatoes, that stuff's really important to her. And everybody can grow. Everybody can evolve. Like it's important to
Like
get better.
Marcus.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. I love this. I want to make the best donut story. And then him
Ah,
like, at the beginning and they're showing all the donuts and all the things.
Yeah.
The one that stood out to me was exactly what he ended up making at the end in the cake form, which was this chocolate donut that had like chocolate on it and it looked like orange shavings on it. I was like, ooh, I don't even like chocolate and orange, but that donut looks like really incredible. And by having that whole montage of him like really, you know, stirring, whisking, trying to get everything together, be perfect, icing the cake, you know, putting the shavings on top. By the time they got to the end, I was like, I need cake so bad. Marcus, what are you doing to me?
Marcus, please. I just
Marcus, come over, make cake.
Send either come over,
send Marcus.
Yeah, I am a big donut fan. I will throw this out there. There's
so many pictures of Matt on our Instagram with donuts. There's like this elite kind of donut shop down the street that Matt really likes.
Yeah.
I unfortunately can't have them because I'm gluten-free, not by choice, because celiac, so I can't have any. So Matt enjoys them for everybody.
I try to enjoy them for everybody.
They look so good.
I've been cutting back lately because I would be like 500 pounds
because they're so good.
Because I love them so, but it's like I really even like in this episode how they touch on just like how hard donuts are to make, because it's one of these sort of things where
they're so hard.
Yeah, and donuts are so like omnipresent now, where you can go to the grocery store or a donut shop or anywhere and get them. I think everybody, it's just easy. You just like twist together some dough. No, it's really, really hard. And
yeah, there was a couple story times, a couple birthdays ago, because I can't find a good gluten-free donut. They all taste like little dense cakes, which are fine, but that's not what a donut is. But I had Matt make me donuts for my birthday, and they were really good for gluten-free. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It took
all day.
Yeah, it was an all-day thing. It took a lot of work because, you know, especially gluten-free, it doesn't rise as much. So you got to find all these different ways to get creative.
Also, I wanted it to say, "It is your birthday," period, like they do on The Office. So he also had that challenge.
That was fun. The whole process was fun. But
there's also a picture of that up on Instagram, which is Matt and Jess TV if you're looking.
I just really like how this episode is really kind of touching on all these different sort of aspects of food, but the importance of creativity of it and allowing these characters to sort of follow their passions, because you can sort of sit here and be like, you know, is this the best use of Marcus's time as opposed to what, you know, the restaurant is supposed to be making, what they're known for? Like, yeah, there's a debate there, but it's also, if the whole point of this is we want to have this team follow their passions and have them express their creativity, like this is something you got to embrace with open arms, especially like a local establishment. Like, who wouldn't want to come in there and try a really awesome donut at some point?
No, I think that this is what Carmy is bringing to this place, which is change. And yeah, there's a lot of people that don't want to change there, but Marcus is not one of those people. He's like, okay, we're embracing change. We're doing all these things differently. Cool. This is what I can bring to the table. Give me a shot. And he's inspired by some of the stuff that Carmy has done.
I am even more excited now for the rest of the Bear after this episode. It felt like nostalgic, a nice warm hug, a great sense of community.
And some comedy.
Yeah, like real comedy, real food debates.
Yeah.
I'm already sad that the show's not that long. We're gonna burn through it really fast, but
yeah, we are. But we got 2 seasons, so we'll continue to be here every Sunday and Thursday with our episode reviews until we're at the end of season 2.
Yeah, and join our Patreon. We got that link in the description. Live chats there every Tuesday night, talking the Bear, answering your questions. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to our patrons for your support, and we will see you here next time.